So hi there everyone, I hope you're all keeping really well at the minute, and I just want to say welcome back to my channel, the home of everything hobbyist photography. This week what I'm going to be doing is recreating this poster from Game of Thrones, and what I'm going to be using is this pop vinyl toy that is on screen right now. So I'm not going to waffle on for too long, let's just get straight on and start looking at how I've taken the shot. To make my stairs, I simply glued together two cardboard pizza boxes and then used a mixture of paint, water and glue to stick down some newspaper to create some texture. I then coated this in a darker coating of paint and slowly built up layers of varying textures of dark grey and black, using a sponge and a brush just to simply add texture into the stairs. Once it was dry, I gave it a final base coat, brushing on and adding texture just so that when I took my photograph, some of the details got picked up. So great, we've left our stairs to dry overnight. We've got this lovely mottled grey texture. So what we need to do now is start to build up our scene. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and place this ready to set up the camera and start to compose our shots. To set up my background, I'm using a cheap tea stand that I bought off of Amazon. To set this up, you extend the centre column as simply as you can see I'm doing on screen right now with some little clips, and then you add on the top section, which as you can see creates the shape of a T. From here we can hang our textured backgrounds. Now these are just vinyl ones that I've bought off of Amazon. For this photograph I'm going to go with the stone textured patterns. They're not going to play a prominent part in this image, but I needed to have a backdrop nonetheless. I then secured these with spring clips and simply lowered my background into place. I also positioned a vinyl onto the floor of my scene. Now although this wasn't going to be in the shot, I was using it anyway to help stop light bouncing around the image. Now so simply secured this into place with some masking tape. Now we can start setting our scene. So as you can see here, I've just placed my steps in situ, and now I've added in the throne from Game of Thrones, and finally you'll need to place Jon Snow figure onto his throne. Now we want to start composing the shot. So what I'm using here is a tabletop tripod, and I'm going to attach my camera to this, Nikon Z6, and I'm also using a Sigma macro lens for this shot. Now I want to start composing my shot. So I'm making very small movements with the tripod and then also just making small adjustments to get the image nice and level. Because I'm using a macro lens, there isn't any zoom on this, so I just have to move the camera and just make really small movements to get it in focus. The idea being that I want to get as close as I possibly can to the design of the poster. I'm going to put my camera into manual mode because I want to make sure I have full control of the exposure. If I leave it in aperture priority mode, the camera will be essentially trying to choose the exposure for me, and because we want to have a dark and moody image, this just isn't what we need to have happen. Now we have our composition set up, we need to start thinking about lighting. So if you look at the poster, it's got quite a strong downlight source. So I'm taking one of my little ring lights, and with the power of DIY, I'm using some masking tape to attach it to a spare tripod. This is actually my vlogging tripod. Normally I'd use this for when I'm recording my videos. But here I'm repurposing it just to make a nice downlit source for my photograph. Now we have our first light in place, I'm going to start taking a look at the exposure through the back of the camera. So I've put it into live view mode, and I'm slowly just adjusting my shutter speed until I can see the image on the screen. Now, as you can see, we're getting quite a lot of light falling off onto the background, which isn't really what we need. We need something with a darker background. So, a simple solution for this, I'm going to take a thin sheet of black card and I'm going to attach it to the back of my ring light. The card will simply act as a flag and give us some more direction over the light, and really just allow us to control where we want the light to hit. In this case, we want the light to hit the model rather than the background. And as you can see, we're now focusing the light much more on the model rather than the background. Once I'd got my top light in place, I could tell that my composition wasn't exactly right. My camera was sitting too high, but unfortunately I just couldn't get it any lower with the tripod I was using. I very simply made do with a book and a roller masking tape just to lower my camera down to the model's height. Now, as you can see, we've now got a much better composition that's much closer in style to the poster. Now, the downlight by itself did look pretty cool, but I really needed to illuminate the model some more. The size of the pop head essentially cast the whole body into shadow. So what I'm doing here is setting up two side lights that are mainly going to illuminate the body of the model. Now, some of the problems I was getting here was I was getting a lot of light falling off onto the background, which, as we mentioned earlier, we really didn't want. If we look at the original poster design, it has quite a strong light coming in from the right hand side, but I've decided to add in a third light to fill in on the left hand side. This is because the body was still being cast into a lot of shadow. So what I'm simply doing is angling my light so that it doesn't cast too much light onto the background, and also but does help to illuminate the body, just so you can get all that lovely detail in the model. Now that I was broadly happy with the lighting, I simply adjusted my lights on the left and the right hand side until I felt I'd got a fairly even exposure and was revealing as much detail as I possibly could while keeping the background fairly dark. Now that we're happy with the lighting, we need to start thinking about taking the shot. For this photo, I'm going to use the focused shift mode of my Nikon camera so that I can get more of the model in focus. The focused shift mode on a Nikon camera works by taking a series of photographs, each with a slightly different depth of focus. And then what I'll do is bring these into Photoshop and stack them all together to get the model in sharp totally from back to front. I've chosen a very shallow change for each image, and I've chosen to take about 20 photographs. I did actually make a slight mistake here and I didn't shoot enough depth into the image, but I'm going to make do with what I've got. Now that we've got the shot set up, we want to make sure we get a really nice atmosphere. In the original poster, there's sort of a smoky sort of light coming down and illuminating the model. So I'm again using my trusty smoke matches and lighting one up behind the Jon Snow model, and hopefully the downlight will illuminate the smoke and just give us a similar look and feel to this photograph. And what I will do is blend the non-smoky images with the smoky background, and hopefully this way we're going to achieve a very similar look to the poster. Thanks so much for watching this week. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to make. So if you did enjoy it, please consider liking, subscribing, leave your comment. All these things help me keep the channel running. But anyway, that's enough waffle from me, so take care and I'll see you next time. Take care and goodbye.